everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Cassidy or Starr, and I'm a light renegade, part of a collective of Pleiadian beings, bringing you information from the veil beyond. Hello and welcome if this is your first time. This is our fifth message from Epstein, J.Epstein. If you find yourself here, you might want to start at the beginning of the series. I also wanted to have a little bit of time just to say thank you so much to Shauna L. Francis. I was guided to her by the universe at the later part of 2022, and yeah, thank you for the shout out yesterday, and to everyone that finds themselves here today. I really appreciate your comments, and to those that have emailed in also to wish me well, and yeah, just your kind comments. It means a lot at this time, and I'm very grateful is what I want to say. Today took a very different turn. There was no message yesterday, as I'm sure that some of you are aware, and the energy felt like a lot yesterday. It felt like a lot was shifting, and I was told not today, no message today, and I spent some time doing clearings on myself and really trying to ground into the new energies that we find ourselves in. But I felt like something was coming. I feel like there has been a shift, and I think this is where we might split the crowd. I think that some people find themselves here and they are still very much in the, how do I want to word this? In the press mindset of what we would know Jeffrey Epstein to be. And I think I was working through this myself too, because after watching another documentary of him, it was a lot to bring him back through and to feel that energy. It's like I wasn't tapping into him at a deeper level. I just had this idea of who he was and all the things that he had done, and it's difficult to sink into a deeper level of connecting with someone when you know that they've hurt a lot of people, and it's been a massive shift for a lot of people's lives in a very devastating way. And I found myself in a different space today, and that's because I was taken to greet J. Epstein in a different way, and he was introduced to me. So we were face to face this time, and this is not a space that I've been in with him prior to now. I feel his essence. He speaks through me, and I would see him in my mind's eye, but I wasn't greeted with him in a space, and I was in a space today with him, and it was the vision that we would see in a human form, and then it changed to something very different. And I had this experience when Queen Elizabeth dropped in one time for me. If you have been watching me for a little while, you know that I was channeling Diana, the former Princess of Wales, and in that time Queen Elizabeth dropped in as her reptilian self, and that was a huge shock and a huge shift. And I thought, oh gosh, yeah, this is something else. It's different. Channeling these messages, to see it was a lot, and it takes a while to get used to this realm. So if you find yourself here and you want to continue on this journey, then I would say have an open mind. But it's not even that. It's just allow yourself to accept that there might be layers to life that you haven't experienced yet, and allow your consciousness to take that in with ease and with time, because it is a huge thing to take on. And if you don't feel right to receive a message like this today, come back at a later time. You might want to start with the Diana series. If you find yourself here for the first time too, this might be a lot to jump in at the deep end. But I was met with him in a, I guess would be a reptilian form. I'm not entirely sure of the differences between different types of reptilian at this point, and Epstein mentions the Draconian order, which I know is a strain of reptilian energy, but I don't know of the differences between them all yet, and I wasn't able to ask many questions today. I think it was a huge leap for me to kind of come back into the ET realm. As I've expressed before, I was in a different space. The past few weeks I've been very much in Christ consciousness, Christ light, and kind of dealing with more of a satanic order and shift. So there's going to be a point when all of these things kind of meet in the middle, I think, but it was a big shift for me to come back into ET realm. I haven't been connecting with my Pleiadian contacts as much. I know that they were off fighting, which was, a little bit of a concern, but at the same time, it was kind of guided to me to not worry about that and just stay in my lane, because I was still having to battle entities and darker energies. So everything shifted on its head again. I've had to click into ET gear, and that's what the message is today. It's very much this is what was actually happening, and yes, another dynamic to this whole story, this whole dark empire that I just don't think people have any idea of or could have. We're only told so much, and peeling more and more back within all of this, it's like we're only shown a minute fraction of what actually happened. So I'm grateful to be receiving this, but it is something else. If this is your first time here, it's really something to try and come to grips with, come to terms with. So take your time. But it's not a long message again from Jay, but I think that it's to make sure that it's not too much for people. And I think we're going to have a lot of first timers here that are trying to come to grips with all of this. So apologies to those, that are those veterans that find themselves here, because I don't think this is going to be a shock to you. I think it's just going to be, another added to the list that we know of. But it's a little bit deeper into the ET aspects of everything today. So we started with my sincerest apologies for my absence yesterday. There was so much happening I couldn't begin to think. Energetically, we feel all that you do. When things are shifting for you, they are shifting for us also. But back to me. So yes, I found myself in the company of some very important people quicker than I could have ever imagined. What I didn't realize what this was none of my doing at all. I believe I held the power, but in fact, I did none of it. I was being controlled the entire time by something I wasn't aware of that I was fully a part of. This was until I met Prince Andrew. Now, what you must understand is that the media has it all so very wrong. I've known the prince for much longer than your tabloids and press would allow you to believe, because it was just too dangerous. We were just too wicked and the empire too grand. I want to say I was recruited, but that doesn't feel right, as this is part of me, my bloodline. I was part of the draconian order. This was what I wasn't aware of for the longest time. My thirst for fear had its roots in something a lot darker than one could imagine. It is so hard to describe how all this came to be, because it doesn't feel right, but it feels like magic, and that's exactly what it is. As I said before, it was as if the universe was speaking to me. Life was speaking directly to me, and I was taking its orders. Yet what I wasn't fully aware of is that my orders had been planned and created long before I was birthed into the world, and I was merely a pawn in a larger scheme, a larger tactic to hold on to a population none the wiser. Well, for the most part, at least. I wish to share here that for the most of my life, I had zero idea of whom I really was, what you would call at a soul's level. I didn't really believe in all that, but I found myself connecting with the occult teachings, the ideas of being able to manipulate the atmosphere around you, receive power, overtake and conquer was something that I could understand. I began to research all types of practices and teachings, and I aligned myself with all things that called out to me. And lo and behold, the more I practiced, the more I gained power and I began to change. I was no longer little Jeffrey. I was becoming something else, and I could feel it. Slowly but surely, I was growing in confidence. My abilities to communicate and sinking into others became my modus operandi. I was fascinated by language too. I realized words were commands, and at a very young age, I enjoyed playing with that, seeing what people would do if I commanded them to do so. My poor brother took the brunt of that weight. I realized my words held weight not like others, and I continued to use this to my advantage for a very long time. I cannot begin to explain just how you come to know who you are at a soul's level. I'm sure many of you watching have your own stories to share, and none of them the same. But I can tell you I began to feed young. I began to feed on the fear of the young. I'm not sure exactly why I'm not like others, but I did not need to feed on flesh. I did it in my later years, but not right away. I know this isn't something that some of my lineage are able to do, but it's a strain. Some are closely linked while others are more of a distant DNA strand. So I was feeding off fear and power. It felt like I just wanted it all. That's all that festered in my mind over and over. How can I obtain more, and I don't know why. Now that I find myself here, I can see I was not enjoying life, not the way that others do. Like I said before, I wish for everyone to know that I was not happy. No part of me was truly happy deep down. You can't be. Being who I was in this world did not allow for that. But that's enough from me for today. I hope that those watching can keep an open mind. I know this may not be the story you were wanting, but it is my truth. I'm glad that I can shed some light of the inner workings of such a grand scheme. This is only part one of how it all utterly fell apart. I thank you for your time, Jay. This was a lot today, and it was a shift that I wasn't expecting so soon, I don't think. And I think it's going to be a lot for people to get their head around it, and just how widespread all of this truly is. And I feel like this information is going to expose a lot across different pockets of people over the world, and in the elite. It's like it's everywhere. From what I can gather in the research that I've been guided to, it's in all the high spaces. And Jay expressed that in one of I think it was the first channeling. He's like, I was involved in all of the governing bodies, which is terrifying in some aspects. And this idea of feeding on human flesh, it boggles the mind, quite frankly. So do take time with this, and do what feels right for you. And if you don't feel like coming back to this, know that that's okay. There is plenty other of spaces to be delving into right now with regards to the cosmic energies, and you don't need to stay here. This might not be your battle. This was something to be guided to, and maybe you've heard enough, and don't force self. Those that know that they want to continue and choose to be here will know that at a soul's level, at a heart's level. So sit with that too. But I wanted to share that as soon as Epstein changed from human form, what would be considered a human form, to, this draconian reptilian form, the first thing I did was hug this being, and it was like my energy shifted towards them too. It's like, you know, my soul's knowing, my Pleiadian soul's knowing, and I think it helped to be out in space. We're out in space for this meeting, and I think that changed my perception, and you know, I lost some of my humanness, some of my human prejudice too. And I think that, you know, it's only natural for me to feel that way about such an empire. But I was glad that we could meet in that space, because I think it was important for me to be able to meet heart to heart, so I can, you know, accept this and channel this at a deeper level, and perhaps at a more cohesive level for the rest of you to understand, because everything has to come filtered through me, which is something that I'm starting to really understand. It's like, you know, the more my consciousness expands, the more I'm able to bring this through, which is why I had a complete break in consciousness and a complete shift of self before all of this truly came into being. And I will link the video again, kind of explaining what happened to me in a week of me delving into dark energies and entities, because that's what's allowed me to be able to bring all of this in. But I think that's it for today. Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you so much for your support and your kind words, and yes, your comments on what you would like to be shown as more content for us. That's helpful too. Moving forward, I will be bringing forward meditations for protection. I think I'm going to try and get one out before the week is ended. But I'm having a lot of time back in ET energy, back with, you know, the Galactic Alliance, Galactic Federation of Light, and all of that starting up again. I had a bit of a break to make sure that I was ready for all of this, but I'm having to step back into a lot of energy work again. So please be patient with us too. We're trying to get out as much content as we can, but this takes time. It's not something you can just, you know, whiz out sometimes. So please be mindful of that too, but we will do all that we can, and getting through emails and that sort of thing. Patience would be great for us too at this time, but we are working to get back to everyone with comments and things as well. But know that it's deeply, deeply appreciated, and you know, I feel your light, I see your light in everyone that comes forward, and I'm so grateful to be holding space and creating such a wider community now. And I look forward to those that I haven't met yet, and I look forward to us delving deeper into truth, because it's so time and we're so ready, and I'm grateful for all that are here and stepping forward into the light. You know, everyone needs it, not just those that are here, but those that find themselves, you know, still figuring all of this out. They need it too, and I'm sending as much love and light out to everyone as I can. And yeah, I will be back tomorrow. Take care, everyone.